I had some people ask me if I could build a picture frame out of this old wood. At first, I didn't want to do it because I knew it would be a pain in my ass and probably tear up most of my tools. Then I remembered it was for my parents, and I thought, oh hell, I better do this, or Thanksgiving's going to be weird this year. This wood's pretty old. It's still got the original saw marks, and it's got a ton of little tacks in it. I'll be honest, when they brought this painting over, the first thought in my head was Duck Hunt, from the old Nintendo. But it is an original painting. I don't know by who. Probably somebody. I'm not sure who framed this up originally, but they did not want this painting coming out. They probably shot a box of staples into this. I've only got about 6 inches to work with, and that's pretty average from what I hear. But I've only got 4 boards to work with. 2 of them were good, 2 are pretty cracked. And this painting is 2 feet by 3 feet. No, wait. It's 3 feet by 4 feet. Damn it. Wait. Yeah, it's big. And these cracks are actually way worse than I thought. And at this point, I'm actually debating this whole project. With a little bit of time and some glue, I think I can make all this work. So with the boards being about 6 inches wide and definitely not straight by any means, I'm going to rip about 3 inches off for the inside frame, and I'm going to try to keep the rest to do the outside part. I was trying to avoid this as much as I could, getting all these tacks out, because if you don't get every single one out, it's going to mess up some tools. These tiny tacks are on these boards because back when they built the houses, they would use these to put up insulation. They could be potato sacks or burlap or newspaper or whatever. Just whatever they could find. And here I'm just cutting a notch into the wood, something for the canvas to sit into. So basically a rabbet joint, but I don't know why they call it rabbet. Now that I have my 4 3-inch pieces cut for the main part of the frame, I'm going to use the leftover for the trim. Just something to put around the edge to kind of beef it up a little bit. Now for one of my favorite parts of woodworking, sanding. Just kidding, I freaking hate sanding. I hate sanding and I hate finishing, but I like the construction part of it all. There's something very satisfying about rubbing glue on with just your bare fingers. I don't know why, but it also scares me because that's when I get splinters. I found it was easiest to connect the outside trim to the main frame and then cut the 45s. Because with this old wood, nothing's straight, nothing's perfect. And what I like to do is cut the 45s a little bit long and then take it to the table and just dry fit it. And then once I see what needs to be done from there, I'll just cut a little bit off with the miter saw each time until everything comes together. But you have to keep in mind not to cut it too short because then your canvas won't fit, and that would suck. So here I'm just gluing it up, getting everything ready, and I thought, well, I'm going to cut these little supports, the little triangles just to go along the edge. Lots of glue, lots of nails, and let it sit overnight. So what I did here was I just took one of my old ratchet straps that mostly fit around the frame, and then I just added some chain, and I just double checked again to make sure the canvas would fit in there. It's the next day, and as I was looking at the frame, it just looked really bare on the surface area, like it just needed more dimension. So I had a couple of these cut off boards, but they were so cracked, I decided, well, maybe if I just glue them up, I can reuse them. So here's what I'm trying to do now is I'm just running glue in the cracks. I'm going to clamp them all up, let them sit overnight and see what happens. And then sure enough, this happened. Yep, a splinter. And I tell you what, splinters from these old boards just hurt 10 times more. I don't know why, but that thing was deep. This crack was pretty bad. I didn't know if this glue would actually help it or even work at all, but I figured I'd give it a shot. I glued it up, let it sit overnight. We'll see what happens. But I had to get this splinter out. It was killing me. And of course, it's on my dominant hand, so me trying to mess with it and get it out was almost impossible. The next day after the glue dried, I started taking off all the clamps and it seemed to work. But I still had this issue with all these freaking tacks. So the leftover boards that I glued up, I cut them down to about 2 inches. Now these are going to be for the face frame, but they are 3/4 of an inch thick. And that's too thick for this frame. So I'm going to try to resaw it on my table saw. Then one quick pass through the planer just to give it a flat surface, and the wheel fell off. I don't even know where the bolt went, but whatever. And back to my favorite part, sanding. Yay. For real. I hate sanding. But these really thin pieces right here are pretty fragile. And you can see right there, there's a giant knot hole. There's chunks taken out of it. There's cracks in it. But I thought it was really neat because it gives it a lot of really cool characteristics. So I'm going to cut this real thin front-facing trim top part thingy. I don't know what you call it. I'm going to cut it the same way I cut the other 45s. I'm just going to cut them a little big. I'm going to mark them with a pencil. I'm going to go dry fit them. Come back and just back them off the saw just a little bit until everything just fits like a glove. Because the very worst thing I want to do is cut them too short, because I literally have no more of this wood, and that would suck. So I'm just going to pop a couple nails into it. Oh my gosh, I'm wearing my only square shirt. That shirt cracks me up. Every time I wear it out in public, people give me the weirdest looks because they think it's the other thing. But it's actually about square body trucks, only squares. So this wood is longleaf yellow pine, and it's got several other names, but that's what I know it by. And if you keep the surface area kind of not all the way sanded down, it's pretty dark, but once you cut into it, it gets really light. So on the inside area there, I just took some stain and just kind of darkened it. That way when I apply the wax later, it'll all blend in. This is the part I almost broke my camera. Yeah, I smacked it with that giant frame. I was a little bit scared at first, but turns out it was okay. There's two things about this old wood. It's really dense, so it gets heavy. Like, the more and more I add to it, the more and more it weighs. The more tired I get by lugging it around. The other thing is, it's very pitchy on the inside, so it kind of gums up your table saw blades. It gums up your planer blades, and the smell smells just like Pine Sol, like the household cleaner, and it just lives in your mouth for days. It's very weird. But also this wax lives in your mouth for days too, because it has a funky smell. So after getting that first splinter, not gonna lie, I was a little bit scared that I was gonna get another one, especially waxing it like this. So I was kind of going slow, just filling in all the cracks, all the hills and valleys. Because with this old wood, it's got a lot of holes in it. And I left a couple of the tacks in the wood just as a reminder of, hey, this is somebody's old farmhouse. It's pretty cool. I left this part in because I'm not really doing anything. It just makes it look like I'm doing something. Now for the final fit, just make sure everything fits perfectly. And then I got to install the canvas into the frame. And also wondering how I'm going to pick this thing up, because it's pretty heavy. Once the wax cured, I went down there the next day and buffed it out. Now, I don't have one of those orbital buffers. I just use this, like, I don't know, it's some kind of brush I got at Home Depot. And it works really good because you just rub it in the direction of the grain and it really makes it shine. And it also just kind of gets any excess wax out of all the cracks. And it just looks beautiful when it's done. And I figured before it started raining here, I would throw it in the back of my Jetta, but it's like putting a square peg in a circle hole. So I had to take the old truck. That thing was so big, I could barely even get it in the back seat. Well, it wouldn't fit in the Jetta, but I got it in here. And it's raining. Let's go deliver it. I gotta tell you, when I showed up, they were thrilled. Not because of the picture frame, but because I'm their favorite kid. I can remember when I was in middle school, my dad had this tiny little shop. It was just kind of connected to the house. And there was a handful of woodworking tools, and I remember him spending a lot of time in there just working away. I love to see his passion when he built something. He would show it to us, and he was so proud. And I always wanted to learn how. So in high school, he showed me how to use every single one of those tools. And to this day, I'm thankful for all the knowledge he gave me that I can pass on to my kids. Thanks, Dad.